All right, thanks for joining us here today. Well, right now we're looking at the Rep Hub. That's not what we're talking about today, but just always want to have that as a reminder for everybody. If you have not bookmarked joinesp.com/hub, please do so ASAP because that is going to be your best resource hub for all of your needs. And we are improving this and adding to it pretty much daily, almost certainly weekly. But yeah, what we're going to talk about today is one of the new project types that you're going to be able to submit here is add-on systems for
Ooh.
pre-NEM 3 systems. So that's pretty exciting. We are going to be able to offer expansions to existing systems without booting people out of their existing NEM program, which is good times. And I'm sure your customers are going to be excited to learn about that if they've got any kind of a significant true up bill. So that's what we're going to talk about. So first things first, this is a new program that we're able to offer thanks to our friends largely at Enphase. So we are offering these expansion systems exclusively through Enphase. Got to be an Enphase system. Yes, thank you, Brandon. Hyped indeed. We've met up with our cohorts over at Enphase a few times. We've been super excited for this. Like we actually got teased this like 2 months ago, and we were like, "Oh my God, Win can tell us now." So we finally have enough information that we can share with you guys and start bringing these on. So yeah, Enphase exclusively. The utilities that we are able to do this through, which it's called a multi-tariff system. The utilities right now are just PG&E and SCE for now. SDG&E should be coming soon, hopefully, but they are a little bit behind because again, this is just it's a newer thing. It's separate from net metering, and we'll tell you why. But yeah, coming back to kind of the nitty gritty of how to identify whether your customer can qualify for this. They're going to need to have room on the roof for at least 6 panels minimum. That's our minimum system size. We're not going to come install 2 panels, 3 panels, 4, 5. Got to be a minimum of 6 because that's where they're going to have at least a noticeable difference impact to their true up bill. So the true up bills, we want to make sure they're at least getting hit with a true up of over 1,200 a year, about 100 a month. Ideally, it's going to be probably north of 1,500 or more. And that's where, again, we can really start taking a significant chunk out of that.
Key thing here on this is so this is multi-tariff, right? So that's kind of
Yeah.
what we're calling this. It's a multi-tariff NEM doc or net energy metering document that we're submitting that Enphase has put together, and it's awesome that they're doing this. If you're thinking to yourself, well, what if it's a NEM 3 job and they're being trued up every single month? Well, then that doesn't apply because then it wouldn't be multi-tariff.
Yep. That's just going to be an add-on to their existing system. So that's a NEM 3 to NEM 3. Similarly, kind of on the other end of that, if they don't have enough room for 6 more panels, the only thing you're going to be able to offer them really is a battery only sale, which doesn't require any of this additional training. So
Correct.
we've got that available in the system and have had it available in the system. So back to the topic at hand. So yeah, as Andy said, this is considered multi-tariff, and the reason that is basically we are adding these systems on to the home pretty much exclusively for the purpose of self-consumption,
Yep.
meaning all 6 or however many additional panels are just going to be powering straight into the home, never touching the grid, never exporting to the grid, because the power company doesn't want any additional electricity on these older rate plans because they're greedy bastards. Sorry, did I say that out loud? Um, anyway, so we want to make sure you're setting that expectation with the homeowner that like this is going to chip away purely at the energy that they're using inside the home, and we can do it as a PV only system. That's totally fine. We can just plug panels in, more panels in during the day. Their home will use that electricity straight off the top. We can attach a self-consumption battery with Enphase. So a nice little, 5K doubler there, and call it a day. That'll again help kind of time shift any of their usage. We can also do partial backup. And we are not going to be offering whole home backup. And the reason for that is again kind of twofold. Going back to the space on the roof question. They have to have room for at least 6 panels. You also want to make sure that they have room for that additional equipment on the wall, meaning there's going to be an additional IQ combiner box. There may be a sub panel, there may be a battery attached, depending on how you want to sell it, what's going to be right for the customer again. So do make sure that when you are revisiting all these old customers, that we weren't like cramming this all into a little, shack on the side of their house or anything like that. The whole home is not an option for these, whole home backup that is, because again, since this is a self-consumption system, you would need to put a huge number of panels on the roof in order to power enough battery banks to respectably cover the entire main panel's worth of backup loads. So that's just not going to be realistic for most homeowners. If you run into that rare case where it's like, yeah, they can fit 25 additional panels and 3 or 4 additional battery packs on the wall. Cool, let's chat. But that's gonna be again the rare case. So definitely, pitch this as, hey, you're gonna save more money if you also want the benefit of some partial backup on some of these key, preferred loads. Great. Let's have that conversation with the homeowners.
Couple ideas, Danny, of things that may not be backed up, just so everybody out there is wondering. Like an AC unit, let's say pool pumps, things that are pulling or drawing a large load of electricity all at one time are things that aren't going to be able to be utilized in this system. So if your homeowner's coming at you with like I want a second system with a battery and I want to stay on NEM 2 with my old system, but I want to just utilize this for my new system, it's probably not going to work best that way, right? Again, the partial backup or the self-consumption, it's going to be only drawing from that second system that you put on there.
Yep.
So yeah.
Brian has a great question right here. Are there scenarios where you will tie the existing system into the battery for more backup? Not with this program, but if you sell them a battery only package that includes backup, go for it. But it will not be tied to this new system. Because again, this new system can never touch the grid. It can never, basically the utility wants to know about it, but they never want to see it again. It's kind of a weird thing. Like we do have to tell them, yes, there is this new system that's operating on this additional, rate plan, and the rate plan is 0. It's never there's no communication to the grid whatsoever.
By the way, Brian, you can add a second system and have it be tied into the old system, but you will be flipped to NEM 3 for all of it.
Correct.
Okay. What we're talking about today is keeping the old system on the old tariff and not forcing the both systems to be on the new export rates with NEM 3. It's keeping the old one on 2 or 1 and the new one on this special multi-tariff. But to do what you're asking here is to flip it all to 3.
Indeed. But yeah, great question. Thanks for
that's a good one.
Let's see here.
That question will for sure come up 5 more times during this.
Yes.
One thing that comes to mind too is we do have that ESP battery checklist form that when we are doing partial backup loads or whole home for any battery version, just know that if that's not completed at the point of sale, we will need that from the homeowner in order to get the permits approved. So Brian, I think what I'll do is answer the question by adding that PDF so you guys know what form is being sent to the homeowners and you can help execute that.
Yeah, let me I can pull that up just so everybody knows what we're talking about here. So when you see this here, everybody see that?
Oh yeah.
Any of these grayed out under the must-haves, that's a no-go on partial backup. We can do all these above the fold here. So lights, TV, laptop, Wi-Fi, refrigerator, great. Call it a day. That's great. But yeah, none of these big gnarly loads. So that is that.
Nice.
Let's talk about probably one of the questions that your homeowner is going to have is, how do I pay for this? The obvious answer is, got any cash?
Yeah, money
We'll
talks.
take it. So direct customer payments are going to be preferred on these just for kind of cleanliness. You can also do Everbright, which is cool. So our friends over at Everbright confirmed that they'll take add-on systems. So if the homeowner wants to do that, we can go that route. There are other lenders, other financing partners, kind of TBD coming soon, but that also leads to a different question: is if the customer has how the customer paid for their first system. So if they paid cash or a loan originally for their original NEM 1 or NEM 2 system, golden. We can work on that. If they have a third party ownership, TPO, PPA, lease, any of these, Sunrun being probably a big contender here. If their existing NEM 2 or earlier system is Sunrun, that's a no-go. And there are a few reasons for it. Sunrun eventually should be offering add-on systems. We are going to be working with them, and obviously we'll let you know when and if that comes about. But for now, just make sure if there is a third party who owns the system on the customer's roof, we're not going to touch it. Anonymous asks a good question. He says, has to be Enphase. I mean, old system or old and new? Just the new system, actually. So that's the cool thing. We can add these Enphase standalone systems to basically any house that has the room for it, because it's never going to touch the old system.
Yeah,
so
they're not tied together.
They're not tied
Separate.
together.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. We're not going to be tying into an existing inverter or anything. We're going to be putting new equipment on the roof, on the wall, tying it in, adding little control switches here and there so that Enphase, the system and the utility, know that they're never touching each other. So good question there. So yes, only Enphase on the new one, but the existing systems doesn't matter. One of the reasons why the other financing options that we are working on is just making sure that whatever the PTO letter that they normally require looks like on these new multi-tariff systems, it's probably going to be totally different than what they're used to seeing. And so we don't want to back somebody into a corner where like the lender all of a sudden is like, what is this? What the hell? You said they were getting a new system. This doesn't look like anything we've seen before. So again, we're getting that out of the way before we start trying to get financing. So yes, excellent question, excellent point, Brandon. Cash is king, because essentially nobody's the wiser, really. So Anonymous asks again, does it have to have a battery with the new system? If not, where did the extra power go? Again, excellent question. Thank you, Anonymous. It does not have to have a battery. Again, we can do PV only. The way that solar works, the way that electricity kind of works in general is, if it's not used and it has nowhere to go, it just goes into the ground. So it's kind of wasted, sadly. So that's why a battery is the best option for the homeowner generally. Yes, there's a little bit added expense, but as far as like overall efficiency and just kind of being, efficiency minded and clean energy minded and all that, it's best if they're producing all this clean electricity on their roof. They might as well keep it for themselves to the maximum amount they can. So that's why a nice little battery system's perfect pairing with it. But
yeah, I think that's a good one to kind of follow up with one more time. And if this is a non-export system that you're adding on, and the second system is not being utilized, meaning, let's say the homeowner is using all of the juice or not enough from the current system that's on there, then the second system's electricity is just going to the ground, which is what they call it. You're sending it to the ground and it's going nowhere. So it's being wasted. So that second system is not being utilized at all. That's why we always want to make sure that the The utility bill, the true up bill, is enough so that it's actually being utilized. And by the way, that's only if the battery's already full. So if the battery's
Right.
drained, then it's going into the battery.
That's good.
But once the battery's full and then they're using not enough juice to utilize the second system, it's going to the ground. So we just want to make sure that you're not putting a second system on somebody's house that's not being utilized. So don't overbuild it. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, yeah, that ties to Brandon answered it, but Fabian had a great question. 6 is the minimum. Is there a maximum number of panels? And the maximum is going to be that 150% overclock, basically for the sizing off of their 12 months usage. So, I mean, probably again, it's going to hit roof space, I would imagine, as the maximum more often than not, but it really just depends on kind of how much right size it for their bill and treat it that way.
I do think it's important too that we're not using genability as our offset, right? A lot of times we get that last month of usage and we plug it in and genability says, they're going to use, 14,000 kilowatts. No, please use that 12 months so that way we stay in the guidelines of the utility for sure.
Yep, definitely. And then, Brandon also asked, what's the recommended minimum true up? We answered that minimum I would go is probably 1,200, ideally 1,500 or more. I mean, we've heard there are customers still, sadly, getting true ups in like the, couple grand or more. So if you have homeowners who are complaining about that, absolutely, let's get them some more panels.
It's happening. I mean, electric vehicles purchases are on the rise. New families are buying homes, and maybe the previous family was only 2 people, and now there's 10. Who knows, right? Like this is happening. So you can be the hero for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Just so you know, this has not happened yet with any second systems that have been sold. This is something that's starting brand new. Again, a lot of this is like a paperwork thing that we need to make sure the utilities are okay with. And again, PG&E is the only ones that have PTO jobs that have done this just yet. SCE is right around the corner. They have a process that's built in, and San Diego doesn't even have a button yet to push to like create the paperwork to do this. I know it's on its way, but again, this is a new thing that the utilities and Enphase are working out. So we'll get there. If you have a question about whether your job is NEM 3 or not, you can call the utility or look at the utility bill and you'll know right away.
If you don't mind, I'll tackle Terry's next question. She says, hey, I'm new to Everbright. I thought they were only a TPO. Do they do ownership? So that's a great question. The word on the street, Everbright's a great TPO product, but don't forget, they do offer loan packages within their system. So you get the best of both worlds. You get loan or PPA options. Please remember, though, Everbright is not a lease package, which would represent LADWP servicing. So if you're in that location, Everbright is not your go-to for a lease.
And Terry, it also depends on what organization you're working with. It may or may not be an option for you based on your leadership's choices. But it is there and it does exist.
With ESP.
Zach, I think your question here, or maybe Andy's answer.
I got it. I'm typing it right now.
You got it. Yeah, these add-on systems are going to be neither NEM 2 nor NEM 3. They are this new thing called multi-tariff, which is, again, basically NEM 0. It's never touching the grid. It is only for self-consumption. If that helps you think about it. We could call that NEM 0. We could coin that. That'd be kind of funny. Anyway.
NEM nothing.
NEM nothing.
Yeah.
NEM none ya business how much power this is produced.
Again, you guys too, like this is a new thing. And so many of the questions that are coming in, we might not know the answers just yet. We just wanted to kind of tease this because it's been a hot topic that a lot of you have been asking about with second systems, going to your old customers who have big high true up bills, who want batteries added on, and it affecting them when they flip to NEM 3 and not being able to export at the high rate that they were on NEM 2. I'm also an NEM 2 customer, and like I want to add this stuff on too. Now I can and feel good about my old billing structure.
Brian, is Paykeeper still considered cash, meaning PTO paperwork may not get filed? Yes. Paykeeper does have that final milestone, but really all we would just tell them is like, the system's active and producing, and the multi-tariff paperwork got filed, and they'd say, cool, done, good enough. So yes, good question.
Very good question. And then for those that are asking about what cash versions there are, Paykeeper certainly is number one, but then you also have ACH and credit card. So either of those three is an opportunity. Please do not send us a check. We no longer accept checks. Okay, guys.
We do not accept buckets of pennies shipped to the office. That is not how we operate. Tony, where to create a design for these and Everbright to sign it up? We will include it in our proposal request form. That'll be one of the ways that we, and the job intake form as well, the project submission. So we'll have more information on that coming soon. If you want to do it yourself, which may be what you're asking, we'll probably want to kick that over to Brandon for another episode of FAQ Fridays with ESP and all about Everbright.
I mean, we do have a few moments left. It might be a great segue question for me.
Nope, we're out of time. Sorry, gotta end this. No, I'm just kidding.
You know me, man. I'm all energy and ready to do it.
Let's do it. No, we got it. Let's do it, man.
Yeah. Okay. Let me share my screen here real quick. I guess, Tony, first things first, you got to have access to Everbright. So lean on your account executive or the owner of your company to get you set up with Everbright. And let's see if I can get this going here. Okay. Can you see my screen okay, Danny?
I can.
Okay, beautiful.
Everybody else can too.
I think we should be good then. All right. So guys, I am currently in the Everbright platform. I've created the address, got the contact information loaded, usage verified with the homeowner. Now I'm on the project phase. A couple of things to notate on this project phase is one, make sure you have that pin on the right location, but two is over here on the right, you have this beautiful shopping cart. If you don't have this feature showing, again, lean on your account executive, we'll get you fixed up. This shopping cart here is a design request tool. So maybe you're not that good at building your own designs or verifying fire codes, which in this case is being is incorrect, right? So if you lean on the design desk template, the Everbright team will build out your system for you. Let's be honest about how the timeline for how quick you need it. And then you can request that, include any specifics. And then once you click request, it goes to Everbright in about 10 to 15 minutes. They'll be done with your design. From your design here, once completed, on the left toolbar, you'll see that there's opportunities to choose your modules. Make sure your system size is correct. And then at the bottom, and it's a little hard to see sometimes because it's hidden behind the live chat, but you have storage. Enphase, like Danny said earlier, is our go-to product. It is a 5P and it's stackable. So if you're wanting 10 kilowatts of battery service, then you'll want to change that quantity. 2 times 5 equals 10. So just choose 2. And then there's this little feature here, include backup capabilities, yes or no. By toggling that switch on or off, if it is on, you're going to get backup. If you turn it off, then you're looking at self-consumption only, and then you can calculate. Based on your selection here is what product availability will be on the next page, which includes quoting. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is go to the quote tab and talk a little bit about how you calculate your price. And I'll make this really quick. Just know that you need to choose either the PPA or loan version. We're going to do power shift for this one. Rate escalator, choose wisely what best fits the homeowner's needs. And then down here, you have either rate per kilowatt hour, install cost per watt, or monthly payment. You can select any of these. Most of our valued partners are choosing install cost per watt. And what is defining is what PPW do you want to sell this at? Key point here, it does not include adders whatsoever. This is a proprietary portal. So you need to manually calculate your adders, which is adder cost divided by your system size. If that price per watt for the adders is $1.10 and you want to sell at $4 a watt, you need to make it $5.10 right here to account for all of your adders. I think that's what I'd like to show for Everbright today, just really quick math and the breakdown there on the battery products.
Cool. Well done, Vernon. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Had a good question. You could probably stop sharing about energy habits that pair well with a second system. And you were asking, I think, of like what's happening at nighttime. You definitely want to think about what's being utilized during the day and how much juice you want to use at night. So I would ask your homeowners the question of, when are you guys home most of the time? Are you using most of your electricity during the day? Or are you a 9 to 5 home where you're only using electricity past 5 o'clock at night? That will dictate what size battery you need and how much electricity they're using in their true up bill, because that's where you're going to want to try and offset that number. We can dive a little bit deeper into looking at that utility bill, but I bet your manager knows how to do that, and or your admins at your organization. They can definitely help you out, but Brandon and I can totally help, and so can your account executive along the way. But that's getting
Yeah.
into the, kind of the finer details of knowing your homeowner and what they need.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think that's really important that everybody is in that mind state though, because that's a question that you're gonna ask on
It's a
NEM
great
3
one.
sales
Yeah.
already by default these days. When do you tend to use your most power? What's your habits look like? And so it's just thinking of time of use as essentially the same thing as yeah, whether they're on NEM 3 or not. If they are in the home sucking up power, if they're working from home, if they're doing laundry, if they're, all that kind of stuff while the sun's out, amazing. Let's make sure their system is cranking while that power can be used directly in the home on the spot at the time. If they are coming home later and then doing all that stuff, that's where a nice self-consumption package is going to be perfect for them, because it'll time shift just ever so slightly for them. Yeah, so thanks everybody for coming in. Hopefully that helps get you all pumped for that. Again, we will have kind of a walkthrough should be by next week on how to use the new project submission or proposal request forms to ask
Yeah.
for these systems. And we will get that out to you in the form of a nice quick little video recording.
And
Sounds good, everybody.
thanks for putting this all together.
Love
This
to do
was
it.
huge. Thanks, guys, for joining.
And thanks,
Absolutely.
Enphase. This is awesome.
Yes. Thanks, Enphase. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody
Bye.
joining, thank you too. Feel Good Friday. Let's go.
Yes, yes, yes.
Happy
All
selling.
right. Let's get out there. Happy selling. Bye.
Bye.